When Aunt Jane steps into her nephew's home at New Hampstead, she is immediately struck by the sheer domestic perfection. Jack and Jill have arranged a cozy, thoroughly modern lounge, complete with all the markings of upward mobility. She notes a piano in the corner, a car parked outside, and pride of place goes to a brand new radiogram, a piece of high-end tech. Jill even has Jack haul into the kitchen while she cooks. To Aunt Jane, it looks like her 200-pound wedding check somehow bought them an entire estate. Let's pause the play here. Cedric Mount wrote The Never Never Nest in the 1930s to explore a sudden, perplexing economic shift. How exactly does a young couple living on a standard clerk salary instantly fill a house with premium consumer goods? The answer lies in a system the British casually dubbed the Never. Today, we call it the installment plan. The core mechanism is simple. A consumer takes immediate physical possession of an item today in exchange for signing away a stream of tiny required payments that stretch far into the future. Unpausing the scene, we see Jack double down on this logic. He proudly explains to a bewildered Aunt Jane that they don't actually pay rent on this sprawling suburban house. They simply handed over a 10-pound deposit, and the house was, in his words, theirs. Jack is falling for the primary psychological lure of modern credit. The system intentionally blurs the lines, convincing the buyer that holding an object in your hands is the exact same thing as actually owning it on paper. Jack defends his 10-pound deposit by calling standard rent uneconomic. It sounds like sound financial logic. Why be a tenant when you can build equity? But credit marketing hijacks that perfectly reasonable idea, using the language of smart investing to rope consumers into terrible deals. Aunt Jane starts interrogating the rest of their lifestyle. She asks about the car outside. Jill awkwardly admits that out of the entire vehicle, they currently own the steering wheel, one tire, and about 2 engine cylinders. The realization begins to spread. The radiogram, the piano, even the furniture they are sitting on isn't theirs. Aunt Jane leaps to her feet, horrified to discover the cushion beneath her legally belongs to a creditor named Mr. Sage. Let's freeze the action again to look at the fine print. Jack and Jill are trapped in fractional equity. The agreement means the creditor holds a massive claim over the asset, while the buyer pays off a tiny sliver of actual value. Lenders maintain the right to seize the entire asset if a single installment is missed, immediately nullifying every payment made. Under the Never Never system, Jack and Jill aren't buying equity at all. They are paying a premium just to rent the pleasure of using these items, while assuming 100% of the financial risk. Back in the lounge, Aunt Jane finally demands a hard accounting. She asks Jack to add up exactly what all these separate weekly installments come to. Jack checks his pocketbook and reads out the total: £7, 8 shillings, and 8 pence a week. But his income is only £6. Let's freeze on those numbers. This chart shows Jack's income stacked against his liabilities, and the math is completely broken. Before he even buys groceries or pays for electricity, his baseline budget is running a massive deficit. We unpause just in time to hear Jack wave away this mathematical impossibility. His solution? He simply borrows the missing cash for the installment payments from the Thrift and Providence Trust Corporation. Freeze here. Jack has officially entered the debt spiral. By taking out fresh loans to cover existing debt interest, his total owed principal grows until the repayment curve crosses the flat line of his income, widening the deficit every month. The sheer instability of their existence is too much for Aunt Jane. Refusing to sit in a chair or sleep in a bed owned by an invisible bank, she decides she'd rather take the bus and storms out of the house. This extreme credit reliance strips away any financial buffer. It creates a fragile house of cards where a single illness, a single pay cut, or a single missed payment will trigger a total systemic collapse of their entire lifestyle. Before she leaves, Aunt Jane relents just a little. She opens her purse and hands Jill a 10-pound check, giving them strict instructions to pay off just one bill, so they can say one single object in their house actually belongs to them. Jack is thrilled. He immediately calculates that £10 will cover the next 2 months of payments on the car. But Jill awkwardly stops him, confessing she has already endorsed the check and handed it to the nurse to mail. When Jack demands to know who she mailed it to, Jill bursts into tears. She sent the 10 pounds to Dr. Martin. As she holds out their infant to a shocked Jack, she explains, "With that final installment, the baby is really theirs." The stage goes black on that line. Mount's satire suggests that when everything is for sale in installments, even the hospital bill for a newborn becomes a lien against the family's future. It strips the sentiment from the moment, leaving only the ledger. Nearly a century later, the Never Never is everywhere. Jack and Jill's weekly payment books have simply evolved into app-based microloans, buy now, pay later checkouts, and endless digital subscriptions that drain bank accounts dollar by dollar. When you finance your basic existence entirely on credit, you forfeit your autonomy. You lose the ability to build a secure foundation, transforming from the owner of your own life into a permanent tenant of your own debt.